The scene begins with Miles and his teammates taking cover in a ruined building while continuing to fire at the enemy. Tragically, the captain is hit in the neck and bleeds to death in Miles' arms, reminiscent of a dramatic war movie scene. Suddenly, an explosion makes the building shake, and a bright light appears before Miles heads out to fight again. As he runs uphill, a bullet hits him in the stomach, causing him to fall. Before losing consciousness, he sees two missile-like objects followed by a strange aircraft that illuminates him, making him scream in pain and confusion. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video to help me grow. It will immensely help me maintain the consistency of the channel. Waking up in a strange room without windows or doors, Miles finds his wound bleeding heavily. He patches himself up with emergency supplies and tries to use the radio, but it's as useless as a chocolate teapot. He then notices the word abandon on the wall, which changes to abandon all hope. The room's temperature rises quickly, and Miles starts sweating profusely, the sweat boiling on the floor like a scene from a horror movie. In a panic, he bangs on the walls, begging to be let out, and eventually faints from the unbearable heat. He wakes up to find the temperature normal, but the room spinning, tossing him around like a rag doll. To his despair, some of his belongings are stuck to the ceiling, increasing his growing paranoia. Miles eventually hears a woman's voice on the radio, introducing herself as Damsey. She explains that she's trapped in a room identical to his. They realize their bodies are emitting light, adding a sci-fi touch to the situation. Miles panics when Damsey correctly guesses he's a soldier, even though he never mentioned it. Suddenly, an invisible force pulls Miles' dog tags, choking him, and a bright light appears, tossing him around before letting go. Damsey goes through the same experience, and the walls start moving inward, shrinking the room. Miles has a panic attack, but Damsey's calm words help him regain composure. They discuss their lives, trying to find a pattern, with Damsey revealing she's an algebra teacher and fiancée to a former soldier, while Miles admits his marriage is in crisis. As the room glows and emits a deafening noise, Miles notes the increasing frequency of the room's movements. He writes the timings on his arm before passing out from the pain. Waking up trembling and struggling to breathe, he forces himself to answer the ringing phone, with the word "answer" flashing on the wall. In this film, a similar sense of claustrophobic fear is masterfully portrayed, making it a must-watch for fans of psychological horror. If I were Miles, I would try to stay calm and look for escape routes or weak points in the room instead of panicking and exhausting myself. It's interesting how the room's changing messages play with Miles' mental state, much like the psychological manipulations in classic thrillers. Continuing, Damsey asks Miles to draw something on the wall, and he makes an X. Soon, she draws a hand around the X. In her time, it's the year 2020. She talks about the fourth dimension and reveals she's always been good at math, which leads Miles to confess he's also good at math, though he's never been the academic type. Exhausted, Miles collapses to the floor, suspecting these beings are testing their bodies with all the strange changes in the room. He asks Damsey about the future and is saddened to learn the war continues. He mentions the sins of the father and shares that his own father fought in Vietnam before passing out. Damsey calls his name, and he wakes up immediately, saying she needs him. At this moment, Miles realizes his Arabic dictionary has fallen from his bag and that some of the symbols match those on the wall. He begins to translate the message and writes it on the floor so Damsey can also see. The end result is an equation that Damsey recognizes as the work of a famous mathematician who studied higher dimensions but never completed it. Another prisoner must be a mathematician who wrote it as a clue, leading Miles and Damsey to realize that the captives are all connected to math somehow. Suddenly, someone starts scribbling over the equation in Arabic and the translation, so Miles rushes to write what he remembers on his arm. Damsey confesses that she works as a teacher but actually has an advanced degree in mathematics. Her fiancé arranged the teaching job because he doesn't like it when she talks smart. Damsey asks Miles if the war has changed him and if he's hurt someone he loves. He explains that war turns humans into animals and, guessing that Damsey's fiancé must be abusive, shares that his own father used to hit his mother, but Miles couldn't do anything because he was too young. One day, when he tried to stop his father, the man threw Miles into the folding bed and closed it, making it impossible for him to move or breathe, only able to hear his father beating his mother. Damsey focuses and manages to remember the equation, so Miles asks her to write it on the wall before another change happens. As she starts to scratch the wall with her keys, the room begins to shake, and Miles' hands are forced to the floor by an increase in gravitational force, pulling the bullet from his wound before his face also hits the floor. Despite the roller coaster of emotions and pain, effect of living in a room that shrinks, spins, and exerts insane gravitational forces, Miles desperately tries to translate symbols and solve the equation that could free them. In a twist worthy of Cube, Miles and Damsey realize the aliens want to see if humans can work together to solve the equation and control the room. At the crucial moment, the two scream together, and in a flash of light, they find themselves floating in a bright space, finally seeing each other face to face and touching hands. This moment of interstellar friendship results in the release of all the other prisoners. Returning to normal, Miles is back in Iraq, with sirens and planes flying overhead, ready for another battle. A fun fact about this film is that the production used practical effects and real sets to create an authentic claustrophobic atmosphere, which increased the intensity of the actors' performances. I would never stop trying to communicate with the other prisoners, no matter how desperate the situation, and would keep a detailed journal of all changes and clues found, as consistency and mental organization are crucial in extreme survival situations. The use of mathematics and dimensional theory as a key to escape is a smart touch, showing how knowledge and collaboration can overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel and subscribe. See you in the next video.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect.